Hello, I'm the Eternal Newbie. The extra L is for loner, as in when you want to play as a loner in a group game like Dungeons & Dragons, odds are you're not doing something right. Now, I don't mean people who start out as loners, then their characters grow to accept the group and learn how to be part of a team. That's an interesting character arc. No, I'm talking about the kind of player who just does whatever they want, regardless of the party's decisions. Or one who won't help the party unless they get monetarily satisfied. You know, a dick. Our first story today features a player just like that, who also happens to DM for that group. Want to guess how they do as a DM? Alright, let's get to it. By now, I'm sure you've heard of the hottest new setting out there, Scorched Basin. And I'm not talking temperature hot, though it is that too. I mean, it is a desert after all. But no, I mean hot as in a really cool add-on for any TTRPG game. That's the beauty of the Basin. It fits into any tabletop role-playing game you can imagine. Let's talk about some of the highlights. Scorched Basin. It's an incredible new setting that includes everything you need to make a remarkable, immersive campaign. Whether you want to use it as a pit stop or for the entire setting of your campaign, look no further. It has what you need, including a history and lore chapter with a detailed timeline of events leading to the present-day Scorched Basin, 5 unique factions, each with their own dedicated chapter, multiple new player options tied to each faction, of course you get the Scorched Basin full map, and 5 battle maps. For key, wait a second, 5? No, 15. That's right, 15 battle maps for 5 key locations, including 2 cities. Printable 3D models, 2 Mad Max style vehicles, and 3 tribe NPCs. Original artwork tailored to the adjacent content, custom art style for each of the 5 different tribes, 7 different art styles in total, all from one artist. A variety of pre-built land vehicles, known in Scorched Basin as bashers, for you to experience vehicular mayhem. Loads of indigenous flora and fauna for your players to discover, possibly at their own peril. You know, just to name a few. Now, all of this would be amazing enough and totally worth looking into, but it's the attention to details and extras I like. For example, it has 3 new fantasy languages and 1 is based on American Sign Language. How cool is that? If you want to taste the Basin, and honestly, who doesn't? It includes 20 plus tribe-themed recipes from a world-class chef. Recipes you can make and serve at your table. Let's see Straw do that! Actually, on second thought, I don't think I need 10 ways to make blood pudding. All of this is great, but I haven't even mentioned the best parts yet. First, you're not going to see ads on Google, Meta, or any of those billion-dollar corporations. They do 100% of their advertising through the community by reaching out to creators such as myself, and I think that's pretty freaking awesome. Finally, they put their money where their mouths are. They don't just talk the talk. They have involved over 100 TTRPG creators to contribute voiceovers for this project, and I am proud to be one of them. Check it out. As of this writing, they are well on their way to their second stretch goal, and the campaign runs till October 9th. Kickstarter link is in the video description. You will not be sorry. It was more than 10 years ago, so the memories are a bit hazy, but he was terrible to have both as a fellow player, as a player, when DMing, and as a DM when playing. As a fellow player, he didn't really give a shit about our party's mission. He only wanted to get as much money and items as possible and let them rot in his inventory. When we were investigating, he would run off to bully NPCs into giving him free stuff. He only participated in battles against monsters that looked like they had valuables on them and would always try to swipe 100% of the loot whenever he did. Did I mention he was a freaking paladin? He modeled himself after Griffin from Berserk and reasoned that, once I take over the world, I'll get to decide what good and evil is, so my mission is good by definition. His character died when we recruited an NPC rat folk to help us fight a monster, a big robot Cerebus that was guarding some ruins we had to go through. And while he was risking his life and limb to help us, our Griffin wannabe decided to sneak into the NPC's home and rob him. The alchemist found out and attacked him in anger, and our other characters, a fellow alchemist and an Aasimar fighter who was the scion of a holy beast from Nirvana, took the NPC's side. We went through pains to knock him out non-lethally, which wasn't that hard since his paladin powers had long stopped working. He just never cared about that because he thought progressing his holy quest would give them back to him. When we took the stolen goods back from him, he said his character just bites his tongue and dies because you won't let me play how I want to. After that session, there was a never-ending stream of angry messages about how we broke the rules and did metagame by punishing him for a crime we didn't witness. Well, he had everything he stole from the rat folk right on his person, which he still didn't accept because we took the word of a filthy rat over his. This actually ended the other two campaigns he was in since he went on to vandalize the Roll20 and Discord servers, delete all the assets he had access to, and kick/block everyone. As a player for a DM, he insisted to be his own homebrew humanoid shark race with crazy bonuses, and a third-party class that would basically give him the martial prowess of a fighter and the skills and sneak attack of a rogue, with 0 drawbacks. When I proposed to him a reskin of an existing race that would make him more balanced, he went on a tirade but eventually accepted. He would later complain every time he failed to check that he wouldn't be strong enough to do that if someone didn't reject my first character. He also wanted to have an edgy backstory where he was abused by a hag who had a daughter from him and then cursed him in his wereshark form. I had no objections for all that. But he said that all his experiences made him, guess what? Completely unempathetic, distrusting of everyone, and only interested in getting rich. So we do a few sessions, the party investigates some trouble, fights some monsters in a mine, the usual. He shirks away from combat as much as he can, unless he spots something valuable on the enemies, at which point he does his best to take that enemy down and loot them while the rest of the party is still fighting. He has a habit of saying, I stealth and sneak attack, when he's right in front of the enemy. When told it doesn't work that way, he just whines, but I'm stealthing. They can't see me if I'm stealthing. And then reluctantly moves his token behind cover. When pointed out that he can score sneak attacks by flanking with his allies, he replies, I don't trust anyone to flank with me. Of course, any occasion he gets to walk away from the party, he starts pestering NPCs demanding to know where the treasures of the place are stored, which works exactly the same as his Griffin character. By now, you are probably thinking the same thing I am. Why the hell are they even letting... Wait, did they ever give him a name? No. Well, I'm just going to call him Fallen Paladin, or PAL for short. So let's start again. Why in the hell would they even play with PAL? He brings nothing to the table except disharmony and selfishness. Like this full story has PAL as a player, PAL as a DM, and PAL as a player while OP was DM. But why? What am I missing? It's not like the guy isn't just a problem at the table. Even when they are not playing, he whines about not getting his way. And unless you're using his whining to play a drinking game, that can't be a picnic either. Does PAL have incriminating pictures of the rest of the group? If you have any ideas about this, please let me know with a comment, because I am genuinely curious. While everyone is having fun doing their own personal quests and helping each other, I also throw some hooks at him, hinting that a changeling was recently spotted in town and was asking around for a humanoid shark, which obviously was his estranged daughter trying to escape her hag mother. The first thing he asked was how much she was paying for the information. When he learned he wouldn't earn any money, he pressured the party to wrap up their business and move out of town so that he wouldn't be bothered by the girl. Just before he had his meltdown and nuked the 3 campaigns, the party had recently come out of a train wreck of a battle. A female devil had attacked the town with some devil minions, and the party, sans him of course, immediately rushed to help the guards keep them out of the gates. When he was finally convinced to help in some way, he tried his usual, I hide in plain sight, bullshit, before finally being persuaded into drinking a potion of invisibility, which he wasted 2 turns checking for poison and scoring a sneak attack on the devil leader. In a response, she used a charm spell on him that he failed to resist. I straight out told him, you now see her as your closest ally. She doesn't directly control your actions, but you will do anything within reason to avoid harm from coming to her. On his turn, I reminded him of that, expecting him to do whatever, and he says he grapples the devil. When I told him, you don't want to do that, she's your ally now. The last thing you want is to harm or inconvenience her. He went on yet another, you don't want me to play how I want tirade before saying, I'm under her charm, so I want to have her. Ew. That immediately kills the mood. I temporarily mute him for voice chat and stop the entire scene by having the devil teleport away and summoning a couple of more minions in her stead. He logs out and starts typing out a storm of complaints and insults in text chat on how I can't change the rules mid-battle, and he can never get his way. We stop the session after the party cleans up the remaining minions and start talking in voice chat on what we should do with him. Fortunately, he took that choice in his own hands with his Griffin meltdown. As a DM, his campaign was essentially a way to clap back at the injustice he had suffered as a player. We made our party a Draconic Blood Rager, a Magnus, a Druid, and a Bard. Then he starts rolling dice, saying, I'm rolling for which city your characters start in. So, okay, we start out separated and spread over 3 different cities. The Magnus and Bard lucked out and ended up in the same city. So we just travel to the capital separately and meet up, right? Well, no. He gives us random encounters, which we have to fight solo. At level 1. The Magnus and Bard get some greatsword-wielding bandits who drop the Magnus in a single hit, which the Bard saves the day by means of color spraying all of them to the ground and slitting their throats before they regain consciousness. The DM says, so you use color spray. Very interesting. Well, that's quite the cliffhanger, isn't it? You just know he's going to use color spray to mess with them or possibly TPK the party, right? Brave to let Pal be the DM, though. He's already displayed his maturity level for the whole world to see, but I guess the games are going on simultaneously, so the other people in the story have an excuse. Though it sounds like Pal was showing his true colors right from the very beginning. He wanted to play a selfish character in 2 campaigns so far, and I don't think the apple falls far from the tree, if you catch my meaning. Basically, Pal is just playing a version of himself. He doesn't seem like the type that could actually come up with a character that wasn't based on himself. I mean, a leopard can't change its spots, right? Meanwhile, I and the Druid are about to cross paths at a border village, where I'm attacked by a pack of wolves. I manage to kill some of them using my blood rage before the DM allows the Druid to arrive on the scene and charm the remaining ones before they can kill me. She heals me, we introduce our characters, all seems dandy and good until we enter the village and none of the NPCs want to speak with us. Trying to go to a shop or the inn has them grabbing weapons to threaten us out, calling us witches. This really stings, but nothing we can do, and we don't want to kill innocents, so we walk out of the village. Not before the Druid summons a rain cloud on the village's sheriff from afar as payback for their bigotry. The Druid can magic up supplies and shelter anyway, so we just resume our travels sleeping out in the open. The session shifts back to Magnus and Bard, who are approached by an army of 20 armor-clad soldiers who are there to apprehend them for the crime of using magic. To our collective confusion, that's where the DM informs us for the very first time that magic in the kingdom is banned outside of sanctioned priests and paladins, by order of Griffin Paladin. In his campaign canon, in the other one, which we were still at the first few sessions of, he had succeeded with his holy quest of uniting the kingdom and now for no apparent reason at all, banned magic. You may spot a little problem in that our party consists of 3 magic users and a martial character whose main means of offense is growing dragon claws, which DM informs us is identical to magic for the layperson. So yeah, the campaign turned into a survival affair with us having to fulfill our own objectives while using no magic because apparently even if you cast a level 1 spell in the middle of nowhere with no witnesses, the magic police will know and send 20 people to arrest a single spellcaster. Magnus and Bard immediately book it. Obviously, they have to use magic to do so, eliciting more insults and condemnation by the soldiers, and manage to scramble to the capital by the same time my Blood Rager and the Druid do. Nothing special really happens at that point. We use disguises to avoid the notice of the guards, beat up some bigoted town folks who have taken to throwing rocks at us whenever they recognize us, And it all ends up with us stealing a horse cart and riding through the streets, with Magnus and Bard jumping on it while escaping a mob, and the four of us fending off the guards and barely making it out of the city gate before they close it. We make it a few miles into the wilderness and finally get to introduce the entire party to each other. We have a nice role-playing moment, bonding over how people everywhere seem to go batshit insane about our powers. The Bard performs to make a heated speech on how we should be sticking together to defend ourselves from those who hate us, just for what we are. The Magnus comments, "And we got a sweet ride too. Our future begins anew from this cart." At which point the DM interrupts by saying, "Oh, actually the cart breaks as you say this. You drove it too hard and it wore down quickly." Just a little insult to injury to kill the moment, I guess. Then the session ends, and the Griffin meltdown ensured we wouldn't have another. I am shocked. Shocked, I say. I cannot believe he didn't use color spray to mess with the party. But I guess breaking the cart was his final FU for them. I get what he was going for, that was the spell that made the other people come after the Bard. I still can't believe the group didn't quit as soon as Pal pulled out the old "magic is illegal" bit on them, with no prior warning. Like that's not something you would know? But I guess they wanted to see where it was going. Maybe one of them was thinking of starting their own D&D Horror Story channel. Who knows? All I know is they got lucky the trash ended up taking itself out because it didn't seem like anyone was going to say anything to Pal. Alright, well, it looks like we have time for a bonus story. The system was Fabula Ultima, one of my favorite TTRPGs. I found this game after seeing an ad on the system's official server, but after joining, I discovered that the DM had been banned from there. When I asked him, he told me it wasn't his fault and that another player reported him after he refused to let them join his campaign because they harassed him with something about a trans character. The people on that server are actually very nice, so that was a big red flag. Though I decided to give him a chance since he claimed the admins never let him explain his side. Session 0 went really well, and it was clear the DM had put a lot of effort into world building. But then a problem came up during the week before the first session. He revealed to me the type of magic my character used was illegal for men since it came from a female goddess. And if one of her priestesses discovered me, I'd be captured and horribly tortured. I asked if he could change that since it hadn't been mentioned in Session 0, but the tweak he made was minimal, so I decided to rebuild my character around another type of magic. Session 1 happens and the new issue becomes clear. The DM hadn't fully read the rules. That in itself was fine. Being new isn't a bad thing. But when we explained how things actually worked, he would say, "I don't like that. From now on it's going to work this other way." That caused some problems. For example, there's a rule called multi that allows your attacks to hit multiple different enemies with the same attack, basically AoE. But he said he didn't like it and changed it so those attacks could hit the same enemy multiple times instead. That doubled the damage on some enemies, and he only switched it back after realizing how broken it was. The real problem came in Session 2. The resolution felt very railroaded. Our characters were accused of a crime we didn't commit, and the king came to fight us. We tried to defend ourselves and argue that we were innocent, but he wouldn't let us, and the king attacked. We tried asking if we could resolve the encounter through persuasion, since we didn't want to hurt the king. The game has mechanics for resolving fights in non-combat ways, but he didn't allow it, forcing us into battle. We defeated the king by disarming him, and seeing that his mind was being controlled, but then a mysterious force knocked us all out. He told us that because we won, we'd get extra rewards, and that from the next session, there wouldn't be so much railroading since this was just the prologue. But everything fell apart when after that he announced he was immediately changing the game's XP system. In Fabula Ultima, you need 10 experience points to level up, and you gain at least 5 per session regardless of what happens. The ideal is that the group levels up roughly every 1.5 sessions. Characters start at level 5 and can go up to level 50. Hit points and damage scale slowly, so the system works really well. From now on, though, it wouldn't work like that. He changed it so you needed 100 experience to level up, and it would be progressive. The next level would require 110, then 125, and so on, increasing exponentially based on some formula I don't remember. I complained since that was an absurd increase. And he responded, offended, asking if I didn't realize that he was also giving us extra XP now for completing quests. I argued with him since he was changing rules whenever he felt like it without asking us. I admit, I didn't handle it well. I wrote a few really long paragraphs explaining why I didn't like his new XP system. I eventually left the group after apologizing to everyone and wishing them well with the campaign. Explained that I was leaving because I didn't like the constant change of rules, and that since my schedule was going to get more complicated in the future, it would be better to leave instead of readjusting it. I also said that in my view, he wasn't a bad DM. He really put a lot of effort into his world. But he got angry, and after I left the server, he sent me a passive-aggressive private message saying it was better that I left anyway, since he had been thinking about kicking me out, and that I was exactly the type of player he considered bad because I interrupted and complained about the rules, and that my character was boring according to him. I just replied that it was fine, and wished him well anyway, but then he got even angrier, saying I shouldn't talk to him like that since according to him, my farewell message on the server was insulting. I don't know, the old bait and switch seems to make him a bad DM, at least in my book. If you don't want to play a certain system, cool, you do you. But if you advertise you're going to play Fabula Ultima, and then you change a bunch of rules making the system unrecognizable, that's not cool. The players wanted to play the system they signed up for, not your bastardized version of it. But enough from me. What do you think? I would love to hear your opinions in comment form. Likes are also appreciated, and if you're new around here, how about a sub? In any case, thank you so much for watching, and especially for making it to the end. And as always, play your character. Don't let your character play you.